Mr. Dennis Tan.
Question 5, sir.
Sir, the landscaping for urban spaces and high-rises on LUSH program integrates green spaces into our urban environment through a mix of planning requirements and incentives. Now, under LUSH, developers must provide replacement greenery within new developments, which can be up to 40% of the development site area in some cases. Since its inception in 2009, LUSH has supported the implementation of over 440 hectares of greenery, which is more than the size of 600 football fields. Now, this supports biodiversity, enhances livability, and mitigates urban heat. And despite our land constraints, we are committed to enhancing biodiversity even as we undertake developments to meet different land use needs for our people, such as housing, education, healthcare, transport, and jobs. For example, we are safeguarding more green spaces, establishing additional nature parks, restoring core habitats, and conducting species recovery for rare, threatened, and endemic species. Now, these efforts work in tandem with LUSH to improve biodiversity in Singapore. But we are mindful not to adopt practices in other countries without first understanding their suitability for our local context. We assess that our balanced and coordinated approach to enhancing biodiversity can achieve better outcomes for Singapore compared to the UK's biodiversity net gain framework approach of imposing biodiversity targets on individual development projects.
Mr. Tan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have 3 SQs. First, I thank the MOS for his reply. My first SQ, will the MND consider complementing the green plot ratio with an indicator that reflects ecological value, such as the use of native species or support for urban wildlife by mandating a native biodiversity score so that our green spaces contribute to quality greenery and biodiversity to beyond visual amenity and to discourage, in the case of LUSH, to discourage ornamental plants with lower ecological value. My second SQ, the UK's framework requires a mandatory 10% biodiversity net gain for new developments. Has MND considered adopting a similar quantitative baseline in the interest of transparency and accountability? I believe that with a measurable net gain target, it can better assist MND to ensure that our city in nature vision is maintaining or improving functional habitats over time. My third SQ, the ecological profiling exercise, the EPE, identifies critical stepping stones for wildlife, but many LUSH-compliant developments remain isolated green islands rather than contiguous green linkages. So has MND considered more explicitly aligning existing programs like LUSH more directly to EPE identified priority corridors so that developments in these locations contribute to strengthening ecological connectivity beyond isolated green plots? Thank you.
MOS Tan.
So I thank Mr. Dennis Tan for his commitment to working together with MND and NParks in pursuing our city nature vision. And we've discussed this multiple times, so thank you for working together with us. First, let me touch on the UK's BNG framework and also look into how, in fact, it has its own fair share of limitations. In fact, I did some study last night, and in fact, the UK developers have cited the BNG as costly and also imposing delays to building homes for UK citizens. The UK government in itself has also proposed rollbacks to the BNG because it's impacting their ability to build homes. So even in the UK, with their larger land sizes, have difficulty building their homes and are reviewing this, so I think we need to exercise caution when thinking about applying that to our context. And in that regard, I also wanted to take a larger holistic view on how we are safeguarding biodiversity. Now, the LUSH project now in its 3rd iteration is just one part of our overall strategy to enhance and to preserve biodiversity in Singapore. I mentioned earlier in my PQ reply that we've also safeguarded 7,800 hectares of green spaces and will establish additional nature parks, restore core habitats, conduct species recovery for rare, threatened, and endemic species. This is a holistic approach towards enhancing biodiversity, in addition to what we're doing with LUSH, which is a downstream measure, and it's aimed to build and incorporate livability into our urban spaces. In that regard, I thought it's also been very, very helpful for us to give a concrete example about this. In Chencharu, in Yishun, for example, we are balancing development together with biodiversity, and this illustrates the point that I'm trying to make. In that project, HDB has worked with biodiversity experts and the nature groups on the EIA for the Yishun Chencharu BTO to enhance nature planting and also to build and advance and then implement an environmental monitoring management plan, to design green spaces and linear parks. And in that regard also, we have worked very closely with our nature groups and environmental efforts. So I also wanted to take this opportunity to also respond to Member Herting Ru's point on Wednesday about our engagements with nature groups being one-sided. That is not true, because we work with our nature groups very extensively. I met with them even on Valentine's Day last month, and I worked with Dr. Sean Lam, for example, on the Nature Society Singapore. And in this particular Yishun Chencharu project, Dr. Sean Lam has offered his expertise to co-create planting palette with HDB. So in this regard, I appreciate the members' suggestion in looking at external examples, but I think that's not quite appropriate to Singapore's context. We have a larger, more holistic, more coordinated approach to enhancing biodiversity, and I thank him for his continued work with us in pursuing this very important mission. Thank you.